Blades Ramble are proudly supported by our main channel sponsor, My Business Group, a group of brands designed to support owners, leaders and managers in business. We would not be where we are without the incredible support of John and the team. If you're looking to grow your business, contact mybusinessgroup.co.uk today for more information or follow the link in the description below.
Blades fans, subscribe to Blades Ramble. Up the Blades.
What is happening, Blades, and welcome back to the Blades Ramble. I am just going to double check that I can be heard. I'm pretty sure I can. My mic looks like it's on. We are back to checking everything because it's been a couple of weeks. You wouldn't think that from the comments on my last video. Man Mountain, I warned you that would backfire doing that 3 promoted teams can they survive video. The amount of stick I have had for that because it's out of date now. It's 2 weeks. Well, it's 3 weeks since we recorded it. Where's your knowledge? We've signed loads of players. I know you have now. You hadn't when I recorded it. But yeah, lesson learned. Thank you for the feedback on that. Anyway, we're not here to talk about any other clubs. This is the Blades Ramble. This is Sheffield United. And oh my word, is it good to be back. I haven't spoken to you live properly. I mean, I've been on StreamYard and we're a dodgy connection abroad. But to be back and doing what I love, honestly, I have a whole new appreciation for it. On Behind the Ramble, I will be sort of noting at some stage when I get a chance to doing it, what my first day back has been like, because it has been absolutely crazy. Absolutely crazy. And I think people will be interested, and this is what Behind the Ramble is all about. People will be interested in what goes into, because it looks great. Coming on, talking about it, and it is great. Don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to skew that in any different way, but there is so much that goes into it, and I have a whole new appreciation for what everybody, you know, for what I get a chance to do. So thank you to everyone again for their continued support. If you can hear me now loud and clearly. Nightmare scenario while we're away. I won't go into it in this video because I only intend for this to be a fairly quick one. And the reason I've come on is because it's been a very hectic day for Sheffield United, and I can see we've got a platinum, we've got different chat groups for different levels of support, and I thank everybody who supports the Blades Ramble, but our platinum Ramblers chat is very, very busy. And it gives me, I've spoken about this before, it gives me a wide range of opinions on the fan base. I've also seen on X how people are reacting to stuff. Danny Hall is reporting news left, right and centre. A very good source for news, Danny Hall. Writes for the Sheffield Star, regularly on top of things that are going on at Bramall Lane. I've also got a little bit of information that's now about a day old or so. I can clarify any previous news that we've spoken about as well, because when I were away, it was hard to just jump on and sort of say, actually, you know, when I said Spanish striker, it should have been striker based in Spain, because that's Ollie McBurney and all this sort of stuff. But anyway, we can get to any of that. But today's news, the main bit of news really, firstly, Kieffer Moore has gone. That was largely expected to happen, and that has been in the works for a week or so. So it's no great shock to us that has happened. Anel Ahmedhodžić has left today. He's gone to Feyenoord. And we will be on tonight, by the way, just to sort of jump off at a tangent, but we will be on tonight. We're doing the 3 Mighty Blades season preview, asking if we are ready for the new season. And that was before Anel left, or before any sort of great movements were happening with Anel leaving. So I think the clear answer now would be no, we're not ready for the start of the season. But does that mean that we're in trouble? I don't think it does. Darren Smith, big friend of the channel, put out a tweet earlier on that I saw that said something like, in windows gone by, only 35, it was something like 65% of the business gets done from this point on. So only 35% of the business holistically has been done in this window. And that would measure up to what I tend to think. Everybody knows it gets busier towards the end. We know that we're relying on Premier League clubs particularly, and sometimes now using the model that Sheffield United use, maybe foreign teams getting their houses in order before we can then pick off at whatever scraps they're leaving for teams lower down the pyramid, which we come into. So yeah, and tonight on 3MB we will be discussing this, Three Mardy Blades. We're live at 7:30. Do join us, but those shows, I've been quite clear recently in terms of I can't read all the comments. And I'm not saying I'll be, depending on how many we get today, I'm not saying I can get through absolutely everything, because I'm supposed to be on a bit of daddy duty as well today. So I've just jumped on, told them to set a game up for us and we'll play something and whatever we need to do. But I want to hear from the boys tonight as well and have their opinion and sort of go back at them as well. So we'll take all your comments tonight as well, but whether I can get to reading them all out is very doubtful. So this afternoon, if you're able to join us this afternoon, thank you to everybody that has. We're going to jump into what you want to say, and then you'll hear a little bit more from me tonight about what I think. But just to lay the table, so we've talked about Kieffer Moore going. That's been confirmed now. It's more or less confirmed without figures being touted, but we have made a profit on Kieffer Moore. Unbelievable bit of business, that. Unbelievable. It don't mean he wouldn't have been an asset to us this season, because I think he's a good player, and I like Kieffer Moore. I thought he'd give us a different option, but we've decided to move him on and to get a profit on a player that we had given a 3-year contract to at 32 years old. I think is an amazing bit of business. So to a 3-year contract to a 32-year, it just sort of sends shudders down my spine, really. But he were on big money at Sheffield United, and certainly big money for not being a first teamer. I think when he first came in, Chris Wilder saw him as being somebody who could lead the line for us, and he did do that on occasion when fit, which wasn't always the case. But it just hasn't quite worked at United, has it? And I think Sayers moves even further away from playing long ball football or balls into the target man, which Kieffer Moore would have more thrived from. I think it's going to be a little bit more ball on the deck with Sayers. Not that Wilder's ever been a hoof man, but you know what I'm saying with that. Anel is... It's a tricky one, isn't it? Because you never want to lose your better players. And undoubtedly, he is a top player for us. And whichever way you want to slice it, he's probably our best centre-half. You'd only be comparing... I would only be comparing him to Tyler Bindon, who has done nowhere near enough at Anel is our best centre-half, and he's just walked out the door. And the rumours are it's around £7 million. The only confirmation I've had on a fee is... We paid $3.5 million for him. That levelled up to about 4.5 on bonuses and activations and things like that he achieved while he was with us. Malmo, I think it's Malmo that we got him from, get a 15% sell on of the profit that we made. So it's not of the whole fee. But even with all that considered, we have made a sizable profit on the player. And again, with 1 year left on his contract, I think this is good business. I know it's not ideal. I don't think it's good that we're losing a player that is undoubtedly a starter in our side. But to gain, in terms of a business move, I think it's very good for Sheffield United in terms of it makes perfect sense for all parties. It only makes sense if we spend that money wisely, and we now need 2 centre-backs. I don't know how debatable that is. I always like to leave the floor open for people to say, actually, no, I think we'll be all right. We only need 1. And you may have that opinion, and you're welcome to it. But in my opinion, we need at least 2. At least 2. Jack Robinson, for me, is not a starting centre-back that I'd like to rely on. Even if he is, you've nothing underneath him. You've nothing underneath him and Tyler Bindon at the minute. And there's no guarantee that Jack Robinson's fit to start. So are we comfortable with Reece Norrington-Davis, who is a left-back by trade, coming inside to play left centre-half, and we all, or the majority of us, would recognise he has been a shadow of the player that he was once upon a time since his injury. So really tough to sort of work out what's going to happen in the immediate future. But I still think it's a deal that we couldn't sniff at. We couldn't turn our noses up at. Was Anel going to be the difference between promotion and not getting out of the Championship this year? I'm not convinced, to be honest. But we now need to move quickly. And we tried, by all accounts, Danny Hall, this is another Danny Hall report. We have tried to go for Charlie Hughes at Hull, a man that we have talked about on the channel previously, a really good, hungry young centre-half. and they have the figure allegedly that they have quoted us is something that we are not willing to meet. Now, that doesn't mean we've got no money. That means that we are unwilling to go to a certain figure for certain players. So it might be a case that, if Virgil van Dijk were available for 20 million, do you know what I mean? We're not talking about that. It's all got to be relative to the player and what we think of his abilities. So I've seen people already panicking about, well, we can't afford Charlie Hughes. That's not what the conversation is it? It's not a case of not being able to afford him. It's a case of refusing to meet what we believe as a club is an unrealistic asking price. So really interesting turns of events here, and Hull now know that we need a centre-half. Hull are in a terrible situation financially themselves, so I would not consider that one dead in the water. I've heard murmurings that we still like. We'll keep our eye on Charlie Hughes. He's been a name that's been loosely linked throughout the summer just because of Ruben's links to Hull City. So yeah, I don't consider that one dead, but I think we will now struggle going into the Bristol City game. Apologies to the Bristol City fans in terms of team selection at the back. So I want to know your thoughts anyway. I'll try not to splurge too much on what my thoughts are on too many things, but I want you guys to be able to have your say. This is what we're all about as a channel. This is a platform for everybody to try and get their feelings out, and I will try and mitigate that, whether that's positive, negative. I always try and play a little bit of devil's either way. So let's get started. And Toddy starts us off saying, please give me something positive, Jim. I've already lost my head today. Toddy, who is one of our Platinum Ramblers, is exactly what we're talking about, isn't it? That's people will be upset with what's happening here because you see the outgoings. And look, this is only not an international defender by personal choice. This is an international level defender going out who will be going to Feyenoord and playing in a league that's not a top league, but in a side that plays good football and is the top end of their league. I think he's a little bit like we've talked about with Sander Berge before. I think in a better team, Anel thrives. So I expect him to go and do well. I understand the frustration with Toddy. I think we have to judge the window at the end of the window, don't we? And that is the time to sort of not throw your teddies out at Bram or lose your head or whatever it is, but that is when we truly judge it, isn't it? Cooler King says, afternoon, Jim, a few quid in the bank and a few quid off the wage bill. Sounds good. It's all about who comes in after, though. Very sensible, Cooler King. Absolutely right, pal. Completely agree. Thank you, mate. Hope you're doing well. Mark Meldrew says, the timing stinks to me. Left no time to get anyone in before Saturday, and I've got to watch Bindon and Reece Norrington-Davies as a centre-back pairing. Football's back, up the blades, up the ramble, up the negative. Meldrew, I don't like that. Don't like that. We need to get you back, pal. The one thing I'll say about Ruben Selles is, and I don't know him back to front clearly. I don't know him at all, but in terms of my observations of him, you look at the Hull side that he turned around, the Reading side before that. He's not built his sides on defence, has he really? In terms of getting a brilliant defence set before he then works on the attacking play. What he has focused on is discipline within the defence, within his existing defence. He hasn't ever had any star men in the defensive lineup. He's focused more on beating teams, and the defensive record has come from that, controlling possession and controlling the games. So I would be more worried if we were going into the game, and this is no slight on Bristol City, or it's not intended to be, but if we were going to Portman Road first game of the season, or if we were going to St Mary's or somewhere where we're going to face some significant firepower, and again, it's not a huge dig meant to just smack Bristol City fans over the head, but it's a favourable fixture at home for me. And I'm just going to... oh no. Oh, why hasn't that worked? Oh, here we go. It is. Oh, there we go. I've got the full thing. Right, so ready? See if this works. Breaking news on the Blades Ramble. This is a statement from Anel Ahmedhodžić. And he says, first of all, I would like to say a big thank you to all the Sheffield United supporters that have had my back ever since I arrived in 2022. We've been through a lot together, ups and downs, and we've shared beautiful moments and terrible moments on the pitch, but all of that creates a forever lasting memory to cherish. I will always and forever be a Blade. Thank you for all the moments we've shared. To all the staff and people working around the club, it's been a pleasure to come in every day and see all the positivity around the club. From both former staff members and new ones, we always wanted the best for the club and worked towards it, so thank you for that. I have my 2 sons born in Sheffield, and it will be a city that will always be in my family's hearts. This is where we leave now. A huge thank you to everyone, and I love you all. What a great statement from Anel, and I think he leaves with United fans' best wishes. It's not a huge shock that he leaves. I think the timing, like Mark says here, the timing's poor from a United standpoint, but he goes with our best wishes, doesn't he? I personally think he was at his best prior to his glandular fever when he first burst into the team under Eki, and I don't really think we've got those levels back from him. I think the 3-5-2 formation suited him the best, where he could go forward and roam. I don't ever think he was as effective in a 4 at the back or a centre back partnership as he was in that 3-5-2 system. So yeah, great words from Anel. Thank him for that and wish him all the best. Scotty says Cooper to West Ham for 17 to 19 million, 100% Blade start to a season. I'll be amazed. In fact, I'll be surprised now if we lose any more big hitters that we don't want to lose. Now, this is not, that is clippable, I understand that, but because everybody's got a price. So if somebody comes in with 20, 25 million for Gus, we will have to talk. I don't mean he definitely goes, but there will be numbers on every player's for sale. So there will be a number on everybody. But I will be amazed. This takes off another huge amount of pressure off the club to... I think, I talked about it before, the only 2 players I would be really concerned if we saw were Gus Emer, because I think he's irreplaceable, and Michael Cooper, because to a degree he's irreplaceable in so much as I think he's the best goalkeeper in the league. So you can always get another goalkeeper, but I think those 2 were the ones that we needed to keep as a statement, and we have done, and I'm delighted with it. I don't think Cooper goes, Scott. Louis says, afternoon, Jimmy. Not surprised with Anel and Vinny leaving. They were the ones I was prepared to lose. Still think we had use for Kieffer. I think we'll miss that kind of forward at some point up the Ramble. Like and subscribe. This would sometimes be the point where you might jump in and say, well, we did say on the Ramble that we thought Anel and Vinny would both leave. And if any 2 left, it would be them 2 and not Gus. And I did say that repeatedly a fair few times. But also, I am on record as saying I didn't actually... It got to a point where it was getting so close to the start of the season, I didn't think Anel would go. So I'm not going to claim that, oh, look, Mystic Jim and all that sort of stuff. But I think we'd sort of half come to terms with it, haven't we, as a fan base, that these 2 could go. And they have. And now we have to rebuild. It's all right accepting that they'll go. There's always the caveat that it's all right, I'm going, but we need replacements in. I know Samari's here. I know we're looking at Tim Irogbunham. I think that's how you pronounce it, at Everton. That may now take a little bit of a back seat. I'm sorry to report. It's still on the cards. Everybody's still happy with it. But we have to work out a replacement for Anel. And if that's going to be a loan, then we might... It bumps the Anel replacement further up the priority list. And as it should. As it should. Dempsey says, Moore leaving is great business. Anel leaving is fine if we sign someone who we would consider one of the best in the league. If not, then I'm going to have to start wondering what's actually going on. You won't be the only one, pal. And I'm not here to defend the club. What I'm trying to do is continue being positive until the end of the window, because then we'll know, won't we? Then we'll know the ambition within the club. We'll know, because of how the team has started in terms of the season, we'll know a little bit more about that as well. So, you know, how the balance is. I think the balance actually looks slightly better in the squad at the moment. Obviously, centre-back's just taken a huge hole, emerged in it. But I think overall what we were building without the departures was good. So Tim says, I'm okay with Anel going. It's probably time. Need 2 decent centre-backs in pronto, though. Yeah, I agree, Tim. I agree. Hope you're well, mate. Beast Boy says, afternoon, Jimmy. Hope you're well. I'm still not feeling great after Rian's gone to Derby. You've got to let that one go. You've got to let that one go. He were on huge money, and, you know, we wish him all the best. Nice kid, and a lot of people say that about him, but we need We need accomplished footballers at this level. Not that he wasn't. It's not meant to be a dig. But he's not a game changer for us at this level, is he? That's what we need to be looking at. And it's all right in being a supplementary striker if the deal suits us. You know, if he's sat there on 35 grand a week on the bench, or we feel forced to play him because he's on 35 grand a week, then that's not ideal for the football club. Ben says, going to the season with Jack Robinson as first choice centre-back and we won't even make the playoffs. Ben's opinion. Not the opinion of the Ramble, but it might also be. All good, says Danny. Thank you, mate. Great business. 7 million-ish. I'll take that, says Luke. I think it's a great number. One thing that I don't think anyone can criticise the club for, other than the Vinny deal, I think we've done very well in terms of what we recouped for our players so far. Yes, Jimmy, I've been waiting for you today. I wasn't going to come on, Adam. I wasn't going to come on, pal, because we are on tonight. But I'm on at 7:30 again with 3 Mighty Blades. So me and Man Mountain, Dave the Nose, will be talking about all of this. But again, I don't always get a chance to get through your guys' comments, do I? So let's see what you boys and girls have to say. Tom says, afternoon, Jim Bob. Normally quite positive and optimistic, but now I'm starting to worry a little. I need to start getting some bodies through the door, up the blades, up all the rambles. I know, mate. I know it's natural to do that. Chris says, anyone that thinks we're going up are living in cloud cuckoo land. Chris, way too early for me, that. Way too early. Let's just, like, the ideal scenario is we have all our targets in and ready to go for the first game of the season. But it's never going to be like that, is it? And if you do that, then you are foregoing potentially better players that become available later in the window. So you've got to play it clever. The problem here is it's not the club, it's not the buying club, it's not the selling club, it's not the timings of the transfers. The problem here is that the window goes into the start of the season. Why? As Annie Lennox used to sing. Wait, Annie Lennox? Why? Oh, speaking of that, speaking of those dulcet tones, coming soon to Behind the Ramble. Make sure you're subscribed. Coming soon. Bit of carpool karaoke with Matilda Shakes. Yeah, I'll let you be the judge as to who's the professional singer. We'll do it blind and you won't be able to tell. It's coming. I've said it, James. I've said it on stream. There you go, pal. There you go. That'll tell you that I'm seriously interested in that idea. Cloud Cuckoo Land. All bound for Cuckoo Land. Matt says, welcome home, Jimmy. Helic from Oxford would be... Helic from Oxford would be a good one. Just hope the owners have got some good players lined up. I hope. Up the Ramble. Matt, I'll let you off with that, pal, because you may not be aware of what you've just said. Beast Boy says, it's great to see you back. You don't know how much I've missed seeing you live, mate. Up the Ramble. Thank you, mate. Honestly, the smile on my face tells you everything you need to know, because, honestly, it was nightmare scenario. Panic stations. Yanks out, the asset stripping has begun, says Rob Bennett. He's not having it. Rob is not having it at all. Dylan says, hey up Jimmy, what's the latest on Charlie Hughes? One of them, pal. One of them. You shall not pass. We're not accepting £3.50 and a toffee crisp for him, I'm afraid. Whatever happens, football is back Saturday, says Brett the Positive Blade. Where else would we rather be than beautiful downtown Bramall Lane, cheering on the boys, up all the rambles, up the blades, up the positive ones. Brett the Positive Blade, Platinum Rambler, will be doing our Ramble on the Road for Bristol City. We are revamping Ramble on the Road, by the way. It's going to be a little bit snappier, a little bit shorter. So if it's something that you tend to like, but you think, oh, there's a bit too much game footage in there, which I've thought from time to time, I appreciate the guys and gals that do it for us, because you need to capture as much footage as you can so that you don't miss any goals. But I think in my edit, I can just make it a little bit punchier. So we're going for like a 10 to 12 minute. So it's more about the matchday experience than the game itself, because we all know the game, don't we? And can watch the highlights. So yes, that's just to let everybody know a little bit, some of the tweaks that we're making in the new season. 10 mil made today. So who's next? The next free transfer in, says Scott. Oh, you cynic, mate. Mid-table incoming, says Lee. Are we excited for the loans and AI players? If only we had a manager who could deal with adversity and dealing. Oh, hang on, we had him. Late. I'm not going to argue with you on that point. You know I'm not. Because you know what I think. Altogether, we should be getting 14-ish mil for them both. Surely that can be used for them both. For Kieffer and Anel. I don't know if I've got cross wires there, Cole. In last year of Anel's contract, we've done really well to get 7 mil. Hopefully with the sell on as well. Surely that can be used on at least three players, 2 centre-backs and maybe a winger or a striker. No matter who, we need to act quickly. 4 days. It's not 4 days. It's about, 28 days? Something like that. 27 days. So I know what you're saying, but you've got to go to end at window. Up the blades, up the ramble. Hope you're well, Cole. Nice to see you, pal. Do we never learn, says Matty. Sell our best centre-back days before the season starts. Not ideal, is it? Not ideal. Beast Boy says, Jimmy, thanks for all the transfer update videos you made whilst on holiday. They were very insightful. No worries. I don't know if it was worth my marriage, but it was a big price to pay. All joking aside, I have to work on a balance. You will see coming up. In fact, you'll be able to see by looking at the Ramble schedule what's coming up. I'm on every night this week because over on Ramble FC, we are doing the opening championship game. We're doing Birmingham versus Ipswich. Join us there on Friday night. But yeah, I have got some grovelling to do. I need to work out some balance here where I can let Mrs. Ramble have a bit of time as well and help her out as well, to be honest. So as I say, I'm on daddy duty as well. I can't be on too long, but we'll get through these comments as best we can. Rob says, Blades to be relegated. Sayers gone by October. How can anyone support this gang of charlatans? Rob, do you not rate any of our business? And this is a serious question. Do you not think Louis Barry is a solid addition on the left-hand side? Yes, he's unproven at the level. Tyler Binden, unproven at the level, but a really good prospect. Harrison Burrows was unproven at the level. Michael Cooper had only played at the very bottom of the division. I think sometimes you have to have faith in some of the moves we're making. I like them both as signings. The AI boys don't particularly float my boat, if I'm honest. But this is early days. Samar is supposed to be a real prospect. And I can't tell you any more than that. Prospect is sort of an underwhelming word anyway, to a degree, isn't it? So I think we've just got to... What choice do we have but to just let it play out and see how it goes? Rob says, good to see you back proper, Jimmy. Thank you, mate. Good to be back. Fanbase arguing and falling out reminds me of Adkins' season up all the rambles. You're right, Rob, but why are we falling out? A ball hasn't been kicked yet. We've got a new manager who sounds like he's on back foot before he's even started. Why? I don't understand it. You can be disappointed with the lack of pace in the transfer market. I understand that. You can be disappointed in some of the players leaving, which I think were to be expected if we're honest, but I can understand. You can really be disappointed with Chris Wilder leaving, which I think has hit a lot of Blades quite hard. But ultimately, we follow Sheffield United as a club, don't we? Sheffield United are our club, and that is, it don't matter who's in charge, it don't matter who's the custodians of the club, we're always going to be here. So there's no point falling out with fellow Blades about it. You can have your opinion, but falling out... We'll see tonight, because usually myself, Man Mountain, Dave the Nose, we all have, sometimes we agree, sometimes we disagree, but even when we've got differing opinions, we don't fall out. It's just, I say they're wrong and they understand. Smash the like button, guys, but don't break it. Thank you, Pixie. Yeah, if anybody does want to support the channel, it's free to subscribe to the channel. It's free to like the channel. So thank you to that. It's very much appreciated. Thank you to everybody that's signed up to our Patreon through our difficult period. It's recognised and very much appreciated. I don't want to keep going over the same ground, but by the same token, I want you to know how much it means to me that you've chosen to do that. Bean says, afternoon, Jimmy. Our business is far too slow, and that is a fair assessment. I don't like the rumours of us still being skint either. If you include loans from last year, it's 10 out and 3 loans in. Doesn't exactly scream. Excuse me. It doesn't scream a sneeze, and it doesn't scream promotion. No, we haven't significantly spent yet, have we? And I think that's disappointing. I think everybody wants a statement signing, and I think it would do some good to allay some of the fears. I think Charlie Hughes would be a real... It's not a centre-half. It's very hard to find a centre-half that will knock your socks off and say, oh, that's a state. I think Rob Holding would have done it. Charlie Hughes is a different type of signing, but he would be one for the future, wouldn't he? That would be like a building block in this younger team that we can hopefully rely on if we think there is one of the next big things in the division. But you're right, in terms of signings, it's been slightly underwhelming, I think, so far. And that's no slight on the two boys that I like in terms of Barry and Bindon, because I really like those as signings, but I think we need more. Hope your holiday was nice, Jim. It was, thank you, Footy Fanatic. It was very nice, other than the obvious blip mid-holiday. Paul says, I said weeks ago that these new owners will sell our best players, Cooper and Hamer, next. These owners will not spend any money on new players. Up the Blades, up the Ramble. Well, I will take that bet. I will take that bet that they don't sell Cooper or Hamer. Brett says, get a bet on us to win the league while the odds are good. Full of positivity-ish. Nice one. Bean says, these owners are giving me red flags. Still not heard from them. No director of football. I don't know what the plan is. Do we need to? I know we want to. We all like to. Do we need to know the plan? I think it's good if we do know the plan. It shows communication with the fan base and that they value the fan base. But ultimately, they don't always that, do they? And that, if that's the way they choose to run the club, it saves them from direct criticism. They're always going to get this indirect criticism when things aren't going the way that a lot of us fans want it to go. Do you think the FIFA Moore was fair? I think it was more than fair. I think it was... Do you know, if we'd have got our money back, I think it's a good deal because he's only going to... This sounds an awful way to describe a player, but at 33, which he almost is, he's only going to depreciate in value and in ability. There's a reason that players stop, mid to late 30s. It's because and start to go down the leagues. It's because their ability isn't what it once was. So as an asset, his value, if you talk about him as an asset, which is, a little bit crude, I suppose, but he's not going to get any better, is he, at 33? Or it's very rare that players do that. I'm not saying he couldn't play a part for us, because he certainly could, but to make money on him at that level, when we signed him as a 31, 32-year-old, and we tied ourselves into a 3-year deal, which was a huge commitment, I think we've got away with one, really. Dan says, welcome home. Been literally twiddling my thumbs waiting for you. Thank you, mate. Hope you're good. Plus, had a squeaky bum for 48 hours. Thankfully, you're back. Up the Blades, up the Ramble. Thank you, mate. Super positive. Jack says, we're looking light. We're looking light, he says, actually. We're looking good in the middle and in attack, but in defence, we're severely lacking. The defence was a glaring area that needed sorting, and yet we haven't. I agree with that. Need to get McBurney back to replace Moore, says Michael. Don't think it's happening. It looks like he's going to Hull. From what I understand, we offered him a deal equivalent to being a squad player for us, because he would be, and Hull have offered him more. So, and if he's going to play a more prominent role for them, then you'd expect him to go there, wouldn't you? So that's what I'm hearing at the moment. Bean says, there can be no more senior outs now without numerous players in. At this rate, it's going to cost us in the first few games of the season. We're like a sloth. It is frustrating, isn't it? What's that? All right, okay. Lee says, people will label me as negative. Hopefully it's demonstrable now that we are in trouble. Don't worry about what people label you, pal. If this is your genuine opinion, people might label me a happy clapper. People might label me as anything. You could be tart. You can't help what people are going to form an opinion of you, whatever you do. But if this is your true opinion, don't feel like you can't voice it, because you're not disrespectful. You're just frustrated. So don't worry about it, pal. Nobody thinks, and it might be a negative view, but that might be how you feel. So, Michael says, let's hope the Blades can keep hold of Hamer. Yeah, I would think we can. Look, Hamer's a tricky one, because I don't think he'll go. I still don't think he'll go. But there are factors that might lead to something happening. I can't. It's not right that I talk about it really in so many ways, but yeah, I think Gus stays. And we need him to, don't we? Let's be honest. We aren't in trouble, says Luke. I don't think we're in trouble. As much as we'll miss Anel, was always on the cards to go given the contract situation, says Johnny. Yeah, we either take £7 million now and gamble that we're going to get up, or he walks away for nothing at the end of the season. And if you think he's the difference between promotion and not, then you might think it's a daft deal, but I don't think it's a daft deal. On Kieffer, good business, says Dan. I liked him, but others have proved better. Anel, also good business. Better to shop for a replacement and get them on a 3 to 4 year contract. This is where I sit, to be honest. Chris says, were we really in for McBurney? If we was, how can Hull offer him more money than the Blades? Because we've offered him money relative to the position in the squad. If we really wanted him, of course we can outbid Hull City. Of course we can. But would you want him to come in as our number one striker and be paid more than Tyrese Campbell? Or it doesn't make sense, does it? You've got to keep it relative to what position you see that player and what value he is to our squad. Mitch says R&D centre half Saturday. I love Reece Norrington-Davies, and I'm so sad what's happened to him. But he's not a centre half, is he? Bindon and Robbo still injured, worrying for Saturday. No, Bindon played in the behind closed doors friendlies against Fulham, so Bindon should be fit. We'll have to wait and see what happens with his centre back partner. I don't know whether Robbo's fit or not. Trouble if they want promotion, which isn't happening anyway. It's quite a negative comment, Lee. But again, your opinion. Nath says, have you got any knowledge on incomings, Jimmy? We badly need some defenders now. Let me have a look. This is before Anel went. So I had Anel is nearly done. A good chunk more than we paid for him. Yeah, that's come right. McBurney was offered wages in line with being a squad player rather than the main striker. Doesn't look like we're in for Kone. Nothing on a centre half. Again, he touches on facts that I'd already mentioned, which were that the Everton centre midfielder Tim goes down a rung on the priority list, even though he was top priority. Now the Anel replacement jumps to the top of the list. So nothing in the minute. Holding, Gilchrist, Clark, Hamza, Raksaki, Diaz, Moore, Brewster, Anel and Sousa all gone. That makes 10, says Matt. We've replaced 3 so far. Really disappointed at how slow we're moving. Could cost us massively. Could do. But when did those players come in? Do we know? And that's not a... I had a graphic somewhere, I can't place it at the moment, that told you everywhere along the timeline that these players came in. And I'm sure the majority of them were towards back end. I think we had 6 in now. We've got 3 in, which is not good enough. And it's one of them. Later in the window, better players become available. I think that's what we've just got to keep in the back of our mind. Not truly focus on and blind ourselves with, but we have to be aware that does happen. Settle a debate from the chat. Jimmy says, Brett, best defender at the club in your lifetime. Morgan for me, closely followed by Jags and then Jock. Anel is there. But no, Anel's not there. And that's no offence to Anel. Like and subscribe. Best defender. Well, the best pure defender was Paul McGrath. The best defender in terms of considering everything, longevity, skill level, probably Jags. And then it's a toss-up between Morgan and Jock for me. Jimmy, even though a profit on Moore, he still needs to be replaced. I agree with that, Michael. I agree with that, mate. Johnny Herbert says, I think we're going to need a new right back, 2 centre halves, and a baller like Norwood in midfield, and maybe a striker. I don't think you're far wrong. And a right winger. Undoubtedly a right winger. Steve Snell says, glad Anel has gone. Wish Robbo and R&D had also gone, but no replacements. Yes, the window closed in 27 days, but now we're short. We'll be held to ransom. We need to find suitor types plus a Mepham. Yeah, I agree with that. I think once you let the players go before you've got the replacement in, that then leaves you vulnerable, doesn't it? So Hull now know we need a centre half, so they can say, oh, you want Charlie Hughes, do you? All right, okay then. If you want a bit of Charlie Hughes, shows what you've got. We know you've just got £7 million for Anel, so we'll have some of that. Or all of that. No, you won't. No, you won't. Mitch says, notoriously slow doing deals. Also, I honestly don't get why it takes us weeks to get things done. We are talking to a lot of players. A lot. And these are often preliminary discussions and just testing the waters, but there is a lot of activity going on. The frustration is how far down the line we get with these deals. So I don't want Mitch to think we're all sat on his hands, because we're not. not we, but the club is sat on their hands because they're not. It's just making a decision on some of these boys and girls, or boys particularly, because we're on about men's first team, aren't we? But there's still 4 weeks of the window, says Luke. Why are people jumping out the window with over a 33-year-old who did nothing, and a defender that has been underwhelming for 2 years and has 12 months on his contract? I think when you take the deals in isolation, they're good deals for the club. It's the timing, I think, that's thrown people out, Luke. I don't think anybody's disputing that 7 million quid for a player in last year of his contract is good, because it is. It undoubtedly is. 2 million quid for a 32-year-old, nearly 33, that had 2 years left on a 30 grand a week contract. It's good business, particularly when he was on the sidelines. We need 2 centre-backs, a right-back, a striker, and if we want a defensive midfielder like Irogbonham, the centre-back is urgent, so is the right-back, really, says Footy Fanatic. Right-back's not seen as urgent. I don't particularly get it, but that was the latest I heard. He loves Sariki and he will start, but can we not have a backup for Sariki or somebody to challenge him, or if he falls down injured like he did a couple of times last season? Martin says, hi Jimmy, I'm genuinely worried for your club, mate. All well and good selling players, but if you bring nothing in, like for like, then you're not finishing top 2. Martin, you're not alone, but a long way to go. A long way to go yet, pal. I just want to say thank you for the support you showed me as well while all the messing about was going on. So thank you, pal. I appreciate that. Lee says 10 gone and 2 starters in, both loans, with injuries and a lack of experience. Lol. I have a feeling he's not really lolling about it. Beast Boy says it took us 24 hours to sell, but it takes weeks for us to get players in. I'll never understand it. It's not that way, but the Moore deal, for example, people have known about for a week. So I know it does feel like that, though, when you're on the other side. Jack says, in my opinion, we don't like a team that will be pushing for automatic with our current business. We're not done yet, though, are we? We're not done, mate. What about Suter? Injured till Christmas time? Early New Year? He said no. That's Andy the Blade, mate. But we're back with Talking Sense with Andy the Blade on Thursday, by the way. I'm going to have to remind him about it, but we are. Still time. Anel is definitely a good deal, though. Yes, absolutely right. Footy Fanatic says, I'd like us to sign Mepham, Hughes, Youngwoo, Irogbonham and Kone. Kone's not happening, I don't think. I doubt we will. Only ones will be Youngwoo and Irogbonham. I'm not sure about Youngwoo coming either. Don't forget that Anel had only 1 year on his deal. Youngwoo, I'm not. I've seen the news circulating. I've not heard anything about it yet. That doesn't mean it's not happening, by the way. It's just I don't know anything about it. Don't forget Anel only had 1 year on his deal. Absolutely right. Brett says, will you replace the players with equal or better quality? Going to need to if you want automatics. You'd hope so. I think Anel, it's difficult to replace Anel's quality when you get to the top of his ceiling, which we only saw on a few occasions. But you'd have to spend big money or see it as an investment to replace him properly. I think Charlie Hughes is a solid shout, to be honest. I don't think he's quite at the level of Anel yet, but there's a high ceiling there. In terms of Kieffer Moore, I think we need a backup striker, and I don't think they're terribly difficult to find. I also think with other options, if we don't get that backup striker, I think Ryan O'Neill can play through the middle as well as the third choice in a one-up front system. So I'm not sweating over a Kieffer Moore replacement. I am sweating over an Anel replacement. And I don't mean time-wise. I just think the quicker we get them in, the better. We'll sell Hamer and tell ourselves it wouldn't have made a difference, says Lee. Brett will be mid-table. Oh, dearie me. Riff says, we all knew Anel was going to be sold, and we were told in advance that we needed to sell a few more to balance the books, like every second-year parachute teams have to make. Yet some people are doom and gloom. Don't panic, says Brett. Don't panic, it'll all come good, I promise. Suter's still injured, I believe, says Footy Fanatic. He is. It's nothing to do with doom and gloom, says Lee. L-Dog says, worrying times, Jim. I'm going to the game on Saturday with Robbo injured, so going into the game on Saturday with Robbo injured, so that leaves us with only Bindon. Reckon we get any players in any positions before the weekend? I think we're leaving it tight lines, aren't we? There's the possibility it could happen, but it's already very tight. It'd have to happen like today, tomorrow time, wouldn't it? And that's to get them registered, get them, have a training session with the team. Don't be surprised to see Reece Norrington Davis or Dovis Asnauskas certainly in the squad, if not the lineup. For an L replacement, we need one starter, centre back, and another strong backup. Yeah, I mean, we have been linked with Opong, haven't we, from Nice? It seems to have gone quiet over the last day or two, but that was a definite live link. That may happen. We need 2 centre-backs, says Tim. 1 full-back, 2 midfielders, 3 forwards. That's at least 25 million, I assume, rather than 25 quid. But who knows with this ownership. Think we'll struggle. Mid-table finish. Hope I'm wrong. I hope you're wrong too, and I think you are, to be honest. Brett says to Lee, might not be yet. You can sign players till the end of September. You can't. You can sign them to end of August, beginning of September. I think it's 1st of September it closes. Don't forget what Leeds did last season. They sold £100 million worth of players and did smart business. Connor would be perfect to talk to. Leeds went through this. They lost loads of class players and rebuilt. Season starts next week, Brett. It starts this week, pal. But the season isn't won in the first couple of weeks. I'm going to just jump over the back and forth with Lee and a couple of others in the chat. Lee's able to have his opinion, by the way. It doesn't have to. We're not here to just sort of blow a sunshine sort of rainbow over everything that's happening. We are a platform that accepts all views, and it's fine for you to also disagree with each other. It's just how we do it in it. So I'm not that I have any problem with people going back and forth with each other, but just for the chat, the purpose of the chat. Jord Motson, the boy that will be joining me this weekend on, I can't remember which one we've said, pal. I think it's Southampton Wrexham that we're watching into. That's the early kickoff before our 5:30 kickoff. Me and Jord will be doing a watch along on Ramble FC. He says, why does it take the club about 2 days to complete a deal with our players, yet we take about 5 weeks to agree and complete a medical? Don't you start. Not like we've had enough warnings with 18 years of parachute payment histories telling us of these sales. Yeah, it's a usual thing, isn't it? It's just not always great when it's happening to our club, is it, Riff? Well, it's to be expected. Absolutely, it's to be expected. Blackadder says, welcome back, Jimmy. I wasn't worried if we got Oni Samari in this week for the start of the season and then reinforcements later in the window, but now I'm definitely concerned. Up the blades, up the Ramble. Yes, I agree. I think that's the standout thing, isn't it? Kev says there'll be more moves in and out for many clubs in the window. Let's see what we have at the end of September, end of August. But yeah, and we've played and won a few games. Yes, let's hope so, Kev. Well said, pal. Because Anel's a European passport holder going to a European team, with Samari as a Senegalese player who needs a work permit to get into the country. That is a technical reason that Riff has rightly given for why the Samari deal's taken ages and the Anel deal was done like that. Andy S., not to be confused with Andy the Blade, says, sorry to see Anel go, but as long as we get a good replacement in, I'm not too fussed. We need a good commanding centre-back who is comfortable playing a higher line, so needs to be mobile. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Mr. Vorpal Sword says, in my opinion, Kieffer Moore is very negative for the team. Complaining and, of course, setting up the Sunderland winner. He doesn't concentrate on trying to score. Anel like him, but he was found out in the Premier League. Anel was a class overlapping centre-back, not a Basham, but up there. Aragorn says, at Gus's age, I can't see anyone paying 20 to 25 million for him. I think if he goes, it'll be for under 20 million. I agree with that, Aragorn, but then we have to ask, is he worth 20 million to Sheffield United? Because I don't think Anel is a difference between promotion or not getting promoted. I think Gus Hamer is. And I'm not saying we definitely will get promoted if we keep him, but with a much stronger chance of promotion with Gus Hamer in the side, so it's worth. Here we go. Rob says, Jim, I love your show and you. Thank you, mate. That's very kind of you to say. But you are beginning to sound like a club rhetoric cheerleader. You need to be more controversial and call out this regime for what they are. Asset strippers, disgusting. I'm not going to do that, Rob, if I don't believe it to be true. I can't say that, can I? I can't say that. So, you can think of it as being a cheerleader. I can only tell you this is my honest opinion, and I always try and give both sides of it as well. So if somebody's being negative, I'll give a positive. If somebody's being too positive, I'll try and give the alternative argument to that. I don't know what this regime are like. What I'm saying is, let's judge the window when the window's shut. I think that's the time to do it. I can't. What does throwing me Teddy out at Pram at this point in time? What does that resolve? What if I stamp my feet and say this is absolutely useless? I don't need to be a cheerleader for anybody, to be honest. I do cheer my team on. I want my team to do well, but I don't get why I need to be more controversial. I don't need to be more controversial. I'll give you my honest opinion. That's what this channel is based on, an honest opinion, an honest approach. So I give you my honest opinion about Joe Robinson. I get some rate pelters. So, but I'll still do it because that's how I feel. So I appreciate what you're saying, Rob, but I disagree with it, pal. So I'm not going to put on a spin on something just to sort of encourage or fan the flames, because that's not what we're about. Lee says, why not sell him now and get some money in? We can buy a whole reserve kid in an Austrian 4th Division team. Oh, dearie me. Jaffet Tanganga says, Neri, that's the post. I think, and this might be controversial in some circles, Tanganga overpriced. If he's rumoured to be 10 to 12 million quid, I don't think he's that good a player. I don't think he's that good. And it's gone quiet on Jaffet Tanganga, hasn't it? Because he were rumoured to have this clause that were 1.2 million. I know people thought it were a misprint. It wasn't a misprint. I don't know what happened with it. But nobody's gone for him, have they? So, I don't know. I mean, if we can get him for 5-6 million quid, absolutely. If not, I don't think he's all that in a bag of crisps, to be honest. We lost Rutter after 1 or 2 championship games last season, says Aragon. I think someone might come in for Gus later and Cooper too. One of those I see leaving. Do you think this is a rebuild year for Sheffield United? I think we're continuing the rebuild, pal, from last season. There were an awful lot to do. Wilder was halfway through the job, and then the club have chosen to change course, which is a shocker for some of us. It's taken some getting used to, and some still aren't used to it. And course correcting with a completely different vision then sort of forces you into a new rebuild. So yeah, and I'm obviously hoping that doesn't happen. Adam says, asset strippers, are you for real, Robert? I think they need to make money, but they've spent 110 million to buy the club already, and more last season. They have to balance the books and make sure the club as a business is sustainable and viable for the future. I agree. Not just because you're going against what Robert said. It's not a slight on Robert, but I don't think they're asset stripping at all. If there were, then you'd take money for Cooper, you'd take money for Gus, that has been talked about. Not at all. No championship side will be 100% going into the first game, says Tom. Keep the faith, Blades. Season will be defined by the end of August. Up the Blades, up the Ramble. Like and subscribe. Thank you, mate. Brett says go for Chris Mepham. He might sign for regular football. He might. Ray says, welcome back, Jimmy, on the Anel saga. Thank you, mate. Well, on the Anel saga, it leaves us very light in defence. We're also going to have to score plenty because with no defence, we're going to concede up the Blades, up the Ramble. Sorry to be so negative. You're not being negative, pal. Matt SB, long live the Blades Ramble. You are a star, man. Top boy. I fancy the Blades for a 2-0 win on Saturday. I need to... Oh, no, we don't play COV for a while, so we're all right. We're going to say we need to get together and sort of talk about the COV game. But yes, mate, thank you for all your support with this. It's very much appreciated. For those that aren't aware, Matt jumped on. Matt's a huge following on YouTube, over 100,000 subscribers. If you're not already, please do check him out. Brilliant championship content creator. And he was straight on the case for us, tweeting and doing everything, rallying people to try and get us a bit of justice, and it played a huge part in us getting that justice, so thank you. Alex says, we need quality perm signings now. Yes, we do. There's no doubt about that. But who and how much and whether we actually will, different thing, isn't it? Steve Neary says 66% of transfers happen in August. I saw that too. Keep your powder dry, chaps. Let's judge it at the month end. Big few weeks for the new owners, though. Completely agree. Negative Leeds fans accused 49ers of asset stripping last season because we did frugal business, ended up with 100 points. Yeah, it's interesting because I know Robert's just one example that just pops in my head because he had a little dig. But it'd be interesting to see if Robert or anybody that's sort of gone against the ownership will come back on with the same energy if we do get promoted at end of season. And that's not a... Because you could flip that and say, if we finish mid-table, will I change my opinion? Well, you'll have seen that I'll change my opinion on it because it'll be evidenced. But people that are so pro the ownership, I suppose, in the comments, will they come on and sort of have their say in a different light as well? But I think it's way too early to go and say asset stripping and we're not going to do anything. We're going to get all this sort of stuff. And yes, that includes myself, says Johnny, need a little perspective. Rewind a year. Who would have thought that we would have ended up fighting for automatic promotion before we kicked a ball? Well said, mate. Luke 100% agrees with Adam. Leeds master. Hey up, Davey boy. Hope you're well. Barry will be the key. He can read the game well. I think he'll score more goals than fans may think. We'll be fine even if we lose. If we lose some players, I think you mean the owners will replace with decent players. I hope you're right, pal. Was there a fee from Derby for Brewster, says Michael? No, it was a free transfer. His contract had expired and he went there rather than re-sign with us. I don't think we offered him. It'll be similar to McBurney deal that we offered McBurney, I would have thought. Buddhist Blade says, owners need to convince us they're serious with at least one substantial signing, preferably in the defence. It needs not to be a loan or a free. I don't think they need to do that. That's not like a prerequisite, but I understand the sentiment. I think we need a statement, don't we? We need a statement signing. So, like I said before, you don't get many centre-backs that are statement signings, do you? But we certainly need to invest heavily in sorting this defence out, in my opinion. Josh says, welcome back, Jimmy. It has to be time to get some perms in. Can't turn a profit on loans. Completely agree. Matt says, no issue with the Anel and Kieffer deals. Both good and sensible deals. Difficult not to be anxious that our summer business is so far 3 complete unknowns, a centre-back and a left winger that have never played in the champ. That's very true. Very, very true. Kev says, I want all our players to be fit and stay fit for as much as possible. Then we'll see how good we can be. Up the blades, up the ramble. Like and subscribe, says Footy Fanatic. Chris says, agree, Jimmy, the window should close before the season starts. Will be so much less stressful going into the season and knowing what your manager has to work with and not losing key players late. Absolutely. And then you'd be able to have a settled squad going into the games. They know their teammates going into it. They know what club they're going to be at for the first 6 months of the season or 4 or 5 months of the season. I think it makes complete sense. I don't understand why they don't. Keep the faith, says Footy Fanatic. Cooler King says Robinson may well start in some of the opening games because you currently have gaps there, but that doesn't mean he's your number one. Is your first choice centre back. True. Also, Courtney Hawes hasn't been snapped up by anyone yet. Would absolutely love Courtney Hawes. The one thing I will say is, in our recruitment, we are significantly prioritising medical. So that is how robust players are, how they are in terms of being able to reach certain levels that Sayers demands. And if there are any sort of concerns or flaws in that department, it will probably be a pass. And Courtney Hawes is a player, despite having significant ability, which I think it's fair to say, his previous injury record has been really poor. So I think we will pass on Courtney Hawes, unfortunately, largely due to his injury record. Liam says, hope you had a good holiday. Thank you, mate. I did. A bit worried about the season ahead. I knew we were going to lose players, and I believe the money for Anel is good business, but this has left us short. We need signings ASAP. Fair. Dylan says, "It's let's be real and try to calm down. Anel is a great player, but I knew he was going as soon as Sunderland beat us." Yeah, the writing was on the wall, wasn't it? As soon as Kieffer Moore laid that back pass through, that through ball to Tommy Watson, the writing was on the wall. John Asquith of My Business Coach, and he is my business coach. What an absolute superstar. So, our central defensive options are Jackie Longthrow. Drum roll. That was the drum roll emoji, isn't it? Jackie Longthrow. Yeah, to partner Bindon, it is Jackie Longthrow. Yeah, gulp indeed. David Oxley says, any chance you can try and get one of the owners on your channel, just like you did when you had the Prince on? There is an open invite for anybody behind the scenes at Sheffield United, or on the playing side of the field, which I know they don't like to free up the players to come on, but there's obviously an open invite. I have no direct contact to the ownership at the moment. I'm sure if there was half a chance, I would be all over it, but I'm sure that's a small possibility at the moment. It's around 4 weeks, says Footy Fanatic. It's not deadline day. Completely agree. Good business. Get some money spent now on replacements, says Blades. Yes, correct. Michael says Birmingham and Wrexham have been spending big. Their ownership is showing great ambition and making a great statement of intent to get to the Premier League. The Blades have to match them. They've got League One squads though, Michael. They've got League One squads that they have to spend to not only improve, but if they're going to thrive in the division, which they want to, they have to make that outlay. How much business have Ipswich or Leicester or Southampton done yet? Not a lot. Not a lot. So, and yes, they have got Premier League squads coming down, but that's what we had last season, and we've got the same squad minus Anel and Vinny now. So, things haven't started. Things aren't in top gear yet, are they? Wrexham have had to spend big just to bridge the gap. Yeah, absolutely right. Chris says, afternoon, Jimmy. Good to see Anel go, but hopefully it means we have some more players lined up. Yeah. For those worrying, remember it can always be worse. See the other side of the city for proof. Up the blades, up the ramble. Well said, mate. Yeah, that's perspective for you, isn't it? Dave Rhodesy Lad says, long live the ramble. Top man. Thank you, mate. Hope you're good. Mackie says, I'm not so bothered by both players going, to be fair, but we need to get 2 centre-backs at least, as I fear for our defence this year. I do at the moment. I fear for it at the moment, but there's a long way to go till the end of the window. Wayne says, get a grip, Blades. It could be S6 up all the rambles. It certainly could. Lewis says, I think we have to be patient. The season doesn't end on deadline day, so we'll just wait and hang on. Just wait and see. If we haven't done good business by then we start to worry and question things. Lee's Master says, Anel is a loss, but I think with the money gained, a good replacement shouldn't be a problem. Bindon and Barry are good examples. Alessandro says, glad the channel issues are resolved. Shame about Anel. Thank you, mate, by the way. Shame about Anel, but a good few and not losing them. Good few quid, I suppose you mean, and not losing him on a free isn't too bad. More off the wages is a plus. 2 centre-backs, a right-back and a right-winger over the last few weeks, please. Absolutely right. Tim says, sound economics and no chance of breaching FFP this season. Parachute payments, money in the bank and a shed load of saved in wages must make the owners very happy in the short term. Yeah, they need to spend it though, don't they, Tim, on replacements. You're right, we're looking very healthy in terms of incoming finances. But we need to strengthen on the pitch. Scotty says, hey up Jim, I hope the haul was great. No surprise to me, Anel's gone. It's just the timing, and I think people that are annoyed with. Sadly, we can't control when offers come in. Who's your money on to replace him? Up the blades, up the ramble. I think I wouldn't be surprised to see Opon come in from Nice, and as I say, that's gone fairly quiet in the last 24, 48 hours. But it wouldn't surprise me that gets resurrected. And it also wouldn't surprise me if we went back in for Charlie Hughes. There will be other names linked, though, obviously. So, because we've gone to Hull and said, we want Charlie Hughes, how much do you want for him? They've given us a number and we've said, whoa, come on, be realistic. So now we will naturally go and flirt with other players, even if we know that we're going to circle back to Charlie Hughes, because then we can say to Hull, well, if you don't lower your asking price, then you're not going to get this 5 million quid that's on the table. We're going to spend it on Chris Mepham instead. That's just an example. That's not a name definitely linked. Let's see. Chris says, I understand getting the money in for Anel, but come on, these owners are clearly asset stripping. I'm worried for the season. Give it 5 games and we'll be on Sayers' back, not levelling up, in my opinion. We've not levelled up yet. I agree with that. We've not levelled up yet. I think it's way too early to say that we're asset stripping. I think it's outrageous, to be honest. 2 players that we expected to leave, and Kieffer Moore as well. No, not for me personally. I think the hardest player, Matthew Mountain, good name. I think the hardest player to replace would be Cooper if we lose him. Cooper and obviously Gus, but yeah, completely agree. Riff says we had 4 in until the 6th of December. That's when Suter and others started coming in. Right, okay. So hopefully tomorrow we sign 1 to make it level, and then Suter and I think there were another signed on same day as Suter, weren't they? So things did start to happen around this stage, didn't they? But we weren't too far away. I'm just going to try and skip over. If I've already read a comment, because as I say, I'm supposed to spend time with kids today. Home Funk says, awful summer so far. We've sold Anel and Souza, sent all the loan players back, lost Brewster and replaced with Barry. Replaced with Barry and Bindon and a bunch of Bulgarian AI players. I wouldn't consider the AI players to be significant impact players. I think they're too it's a safe bet for the longer term. You're not going to lose too much money on them, even if they don't work out. I think, was it Ukaki, the only one that I think they consider as a first teamer? All the rest will be available for loan. I was linked with someone from Oxford, Jimmy, forget his name, unless it's Helic. No, we're not linked with anybody, to be honest. Helic, I like. Obviously, I've spoken about Helic an awful lot on this channel. People laughed at me and my dad when we were talking about signing him from Huddersfield, and now everybody wants him. Or some want him. That's an overstatement. Some want him. Cam Brannigan's a really good player at Oxford. Oxford, I like the goalkeeper coming at Oxford. Oxford will be all right this season. Oxford will be all right. They've got a good side. They're underrated by a lot of people. I like a lot of their team. But I don't think we're directly linked to any of their players. Loden Jim says Cooper's going to be much busier than last season, that's for sure. Kev says, hi Jimmy, Anel's good business. We now need to get centre-back loan deals. We certainly need some money and some deals happening. It's not just selling fees we got for the players. Look at the wages saved, nearly 120 grand. Brewster, Moore, Anel and Souza. Also rumours flying around about regarding a Korean right-back with a £4 million bid going in. It'd need to be some player for us to spend £4 million on a player unproven in England. I think it's a big risk, that, isn't it? And it doesn't line up with what we've been doing. I'm not against it, obviously, if we're improving the squad. Ricky says, good luck this season. Hope you go up and we stay up, Leeds. All the best, though. We'll miss you and Connor this season. Thank you, Ricky, mate. Appreciate that. Brett says, I'm a Sunderland fan. We know more than most after what we went through that you have to keep the hope or you have nothing. P.S. This is my favourite YouTube page. Thank you, mate. That's very kind of you to say. Hope you go well this season. A bit of back and forth about asset stripping. Bill, hope you well, mate. Billy says, need a right back, right winger, centre back, and a more replacement minimum. Will we get that, do you think? I do think we'll get it. I don't think it'll be immediate. It might go a little bit further. Well, it might go closer to the end of the window. But yeah, I do think we'll get that. We'll certainly get at least one centre back, if not two. Surely two. And we'll definitely get a right winger. I'm not sure we need a more replacement, but I think we'll get it. I think we'll get a more replacement. I think we need a right back more than the club appears to think that. And the club appears to think we need a striker more than I think we need a striker, if that makes sense. That's where I'm disagreeing at the moment. Adam says we need an experienced brick poo house centre-back that's primed and ready to go, not someone who will be ready in a couple of seasons. Somebody like a Joe Worrell. Somebody like a Hellick. These aren't players that we're going to go for, I don't think, but that's the type of player that I would like. We still have Cooper and Hamer. The best business will be keeping the best keeper and outfield player in the league in Cooper and Hamer come the end of the window at 7 p.m. on the 1st of September. Yes, mate. Completely agree. This is my thought process on it too. Rah, rah, rah. Cheerleader. That is the priority. Keeping your best players. If they'd have sold these two for a fee that, you know, is not astronomical, I could get on board with the asset stripping thought process. But while these two are here, we have got a chance. We have got a decent chance. Dave says, just woke up. Nice to see you back, Jimmy. Nice to be back, pal. Nice to be back. Billy says, up the boards, Bulgarian blades. Luke says, 100% being dramatic, but I'm not looking forward to the season. We need to sign players. Got no defenders, no backup to Kieffer Moore, and no competition at right back. Anyway, see you Saturday up the Ramble. You will see me Saturday. I'll be at the game. We'll be at Triple Point and Selena Bar. I'll be talking more about them on our Countdown to Kickoff show, as they are show sponsors, and that's where we'll be prior to kickoff. But we don't need a backup to Kieffer Moore, do we? I know what you mean. You need a replacement for Kieffer Moore as the backup, but we play one striker, and we've got Tyrese Campbell and Tom Cannon to fight it out for that. Personally, I think we're all right. Just looking at some of these comments. I can't read every comment now. I'll read a comment from everybody if that makes sense. But Ian says, now then, fella, any chance of getting Suter back? Solid, that lad. He's absolutely solid, but he's also absolutely injured. So I doubt it, in all honesty. I would love that, but he's injured. Lee says, let's all remember, there's 4 weeks left of this window and 9 months left of the season. More in September if needed, but not yet. The outgoings so far have been good business. No issues here. The voice of reason, Lee Edridge. Lone Lee, as he's going to be known on the channel. But you'll be seeing a lot more of Lee. You'll be seeing a lot more of Lee, both here and on Ramble FC, if I have my way. Thank you for that, Lee. Who else have we got? Panini says, anyone saying asset stripping, don't trust them with a quid for the trolley. Classic bedwetting language. They've heard a new buzz term and think saying it makes them smart. Panini coming in with the shots. Phil says, hi Jimmy, hope you and the family had a great holiday. The holiday element was great. Yes, it was, thank you. Sadanelli's leaving. I would panic more if Cooper was sold. That type of keeper is essential to our team up the Ramble. Completely agree, mate. Completely agree. Jack Groves says, you can't asset strip in the champ, especially as a consortium. Charger says, any truth to Seoul Young Woo? I don't know, is the honest truth. I don't know. It's not the first time I've heard him linked this window, but I've not heard anything recently, if that makes sense. So I couldn't honestly say either way. Al says, will the safe standing increase capacity? Good question. You would assume possibly yes, but I'm not sure, in all honesty. That's something for the club. That's something for the FAB, maybe, that Bob Dyson or Phil Ridley could maybe answer, which I'll try and find out, because that's a good question to raise, that, Al. Neil says, Jimmy, Anel hasn't been up to his best for the last few seasons for me, so we were short at the back in quality anyway. Okay. Simon says, owners not put any of the money in for transfers. £10 million for Tom Cannon. Borrowed the money from Maguire Bank using future Premier League payments as collateral. Well, Prince Abdullah did that throughout his reign, and that's a very regular thing to do as owners, is to get the money up front so that you can use it and then pay it back across the season. And that's just the way it's run, I believe, from my experience in the little that I know about it. Nicola says, keep the positivity up, Jimmy. We have to see what these new owners are all about. Thank you, Nick. Hope you're well. Good business move today. Let's see this progress and secure the club more sustainable. Secure more club sustainability for the future. Up the Ramble. Thank you, Nick. I agree with that. There's a balance, isn't there? There's always a balance. We've lost our best centre half. And if you look at it purely as that, then it's been a bad day. But when you look at the wider context of it, £7 million for a player in the last year of his contract, who hasn't been pulling up any trees in terms of his own performances, even though we know his ability, I think it's a good deal. Matt Mountain says, I'd like to see more of Caceres this season, even if it's as an impact sub. We might through necessity. I'm not convinced by him, in all honesty. Mike McGrath's tweeted, mate, about an Anel replacement, says Scott. Let's have a little look at that then. Just on the Caceres thing, Billy says he's nowhere near it. I'd be amazed if he kicked a ball for us in the Championship. I'm more of that. I don't ever want to write a player off, but I'm more of that thinking, to be honest, that I don't think he's ready. But he's our player. So, if he shows half a sniff of being decent, then let's do it. Okay. Mike McGrath, we're ready for it? We're ready for this? Breaking news of a rumour. Let's be right. Thank you, Scott, for bringing this to my attention. Sheffield United are looking at a deal for Sweden international centre-back Nils Zetterstrom from Malmo following the departure of Anel Ahmedhodžić to Feyenoord. Fee yet to be agreed for the defender. Interesting. And Kurt, thank you to Kurt, who has posted some stats in our Platinum group. They are all over it. If there's any reason to join Patreon, it's for the Platinum Ramblers group, who are, you get a sniff of something and then you're bombarded with all stats. Played 28 times for Malmo in 2024, 12 times in 2025 so far. Okay. This lad has a Champions League goal and assist from centre-back. A left-footed centre-half. Don't get me excited. Post office says, we can't sign him anyway. We're asset stripping. So can we just cut that out completely? Joking, Robert. Wait, Robert. Joking, Robert. Joking. Rah. Give me an S. Give me an H. Give me an E. You know when that chant starts off round ground, where it's S and an H and an E and an F. When that first started, I'm calling him out. Andy the Blade could not keep up with it at all. For a very intelligent man, I'm not trying to completely kill him off here in terms of credibility, but watching him trying to multitask by watching the game and spell out the team's name through a chant was absolute comedy. Me and Liam and Dave were wetting ourselves. Are we now a selling club? I only thought... hang on. Are we now a selling club? Only I thought with the new owners this was supposed to stop. Every club's a selling club, post office. Every club is a selling club at the right price. And Anel for me at £7 million plus what I would assume, because this is what we always used to do, is a sell on top of that, is the right deal. Chris is breaking. United are looking at a defender from Malmo. Every club is a selling club if the price is right, says Jack. Spotlight Actor Wayne says, Jimmy, know anything about the centre-back from Malmo, Nils Zetterstrom? Only what I've just read, pal, but thank you for letting us know. Scott says, I think in thinking under this new way of playing Cannon, we can really thrive this season, I hope. But I do think he'll have a good season. I agree. Home Funk says, Akpom for 10 million at 29, that's a waste of money. I agree. I wouldn't be wanting us to spend that on Chuba Akpom at this stage. Russin says, talk of us in for Ben Godfrey. Put that with a versatile Callum Doyle defensive worries over. I ain't seen us linked to it either of them. I know the players that United like United fans like. Ben Godfrey, I know we were talking about had we gone up, and with Chris Wilder, I don't think there's anything to either player. So I can't just run riot with Ben Godfrey and Callum Doyle. I think we've moved away from them sort of tried and tested championship players, if you like, and big money potentially. Not sure how his ACL would respond in terms of Suter being a risk. Heavy landing on it, up the blades, up the ramble, like and subscribe. Thank you, Russin. Brand says, hi Jimmy, hope you and the family had a nice break. Don't like us selling players in areas that were already light 1 week before the season starts. Still yet to be impressed by these owners. Okay. Kershaw says, it's not who leaves, it's who comes in. Leeds proved that last season. Great point, completely. And then Beast Boy with a, whoa, Nil Zetterstrom. Mel says, it's always a scramble in August. Anel was good, but not irreplaceable. What we have is good, but we so need more defenders. Yes, we do. Rico says, hope you enjoyed your holiday, Jimmy. Just want to say, I think our new home kit is a beauty. I see it getting slated a lot online, and I don't know why it baffles me. I think a lot were really put off with the friendly that we played in that kit. Not only because of the block back, which a lot of people don't like. I like it as a scout. I'll be honest. And somebody who does a watch along now, I like to see the numbers clearly, and it's a lot easier on a block back. But for the aesthetics, I prefer full stripes. And the black lettering, which is now going to be white lettering, I think that put people off straight away. I much prefer the white away kit and the white away goalkeeper, the black away goalkeeper kit. I've ordered both of them. I think they're really nice. And I don't wear kits, but I really like both of them. Luke says 6'4" and 20 years old. Asset stripping. Malmo centre back to replace former Malmo centre back. 4D chess by the asset stripping board. I'm not going to get into this asset stripping. I'm not going to keep on with that because we do encourage people to give their honest opinions. So I'm not going to completely shoot somebody down who called me a cheerleader for not going at the board. But as soon as Anel's sold, we are linked with somebody that's exciting the fan base already. So this is pretty much the holistic view that we're talking about. Hachi says, sorry for jumping in late. Has there been any news on Rob Holding? Yes, I think from what I understand, is looking at places in Colorado as we speak because he's signed for them. He's gone to MLS, says Luke. Colorado Rapids. Yes, absolutely right. So I'm going to sneeze again. Wait. Excuse me. Josh says, I think if Hughes is not available at the minute, Callum Doyle and Mepham would be great business. Possible to keep Hughes in mind if he has a bit of a wiggle room come up later in the window. So, just on this before I finish, we are talking a very limited pool of players, aren't we? Callum Doyle, Chris Mepham, Charlie Hughes. We used to talk about Joe Worrell in that. All these sort of small cluster of players that we like, we know, and we know can do a decent job at championship level, possibly have a higher ceiling. And because we know them, because we've seen them, or we've heard enough about them, or done enough research on them, they are the players we want. So Josh's suggestion, and this is no dig at you, Josh, by the way, but it's typical of what we all tend to do, me including, and I've had to try and get my head around something different here. We want Callum Doyle, we want Chris Mepham, we want Charlie Hughes. Any of those would be a really good signing for Sheffield. And it would. If any of those come in, I'd be happy. I'd be really happy. What the club are saying is we open it up much wider. So rather than a pool of about 10 to 15 of known quantities that the fan base know about, we're opening it up to hundreds of potential players. And yeah, you won't know about them. And it's still a risk because they've not played in England, majority of them. But this is what we're picking from instead. So this Zetterstrom kid might be better than them all. He might not. He might not be. So, and that is the risk that you take. But this is the new way that we have to sort of get our head around, and it's difficult for us. I think we're one of the, in terms of like the top 30 clubs in the country, which I think we can probably comfortably class ourselves in, we are one of the last to adopt this model. We have for so long been a domesticated, British-based scout system club that doesn't look further afield than the UK and Ireland for their players. Well, specifically England, really, if we're being right. And we're now moving into a new realm, and the fan base, me included, this isn't a lecture, this is what I think the situation we're in now. We have to get our heads around something different now. And it's just because we know them, isn't it? Josh, that's the comfort blanket of saying these are good players. I'd really be happy with those. And there might be better out there. Let's have a look. Riff says, downtown Bramall Lane, biggest ground in the city by a long way now. The way things are going, there's currently more chance of the Pigs going bust than the Chancery stand being repaired. Don't know how that's come up in conversation, but that's probably true. Matt says, what happened to bringing someone in before letting Moore go? Where did that rumour start, by the way? Because that wasn't on here. That wasn't a case of they'll only let Moore go if somebody else comes in. That was for I can't remember what that was about. But still think by the end of the window we will have a better. Brad's seen that as well, Matt. So interesting. But we'll still have a better and balanced squad. Do not panic. Judge them at the end of the window. Completely agree. Nick says, afternoon, Jim. Hope you're well. When would any signings need to be made this week for them to play Saturday evening? Was also thinking how Benny Traore might have been a good fit for Sayers Ball. Yeah, could have been. No, that's one that may have got away, might it? But Danny Hall said that. Okay, well, I don't know then. That's obviously not something I reported on, but you're not going to get them right all the time, are you? But fair enough. Thank you, though, Matt. In terms of when would the signing need to be made, it's usually a 12 o'clock deadline on the working day before. So I would say 12 o'clock Friday, but it's a little bit more to it than that, isn't it? If they've been playing pre-season and they're fit, then we've got that long, Nick. But usually they like them to be integrated into the squad, have a training session, meet the team, meet the coaches, all that sort of thing. So ideally, you'd want them to be in tomorrow, Thursday at the absolute latest. So we'd have to move quick, and particularly if it's somebody from abroad, like this Zetterstrom kid, there might be work permits and all sorts. You know what we've been through with Samari. So I'll leave it there because I've been on a lot longer than I wanted to be. I promised my girls in half an hour's time we'd play a game together, so it looks like I'm playing a game right up until 3MB at 7:30 tonight. I will catch you there. Thank you, everybody, for all your opinions. That is why we do it. I wanted to know what you guys were thinking. We've got a massive array of differing opinions there. And that's what it's about, isn't it? So I'll see you tonight, 7:30, back here on the Blades Ramble, and we'll hear what the Man Mountain and Dave the Nose have to say. But for now, come on, you red and white wizards. And there it is. Of the Blades!